Prepare for the supernatural. 7 miraculous revelations of divine awakening you never expected. In the heart of a quaint English village, as the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the ancient chapel, Martha knelt in prayer, her heart ablaze with faith. Known for her unwavering devotion, she had seen many things in her lifetime: the laughter of children, the warmth of community, and the solace found in St. Michael's watchful presence. Yet, nothing could prepare her for the dark shadow that loomed over her family. Her youngest grandson, Timothy, once full of life, now lay sick, with whispers of despair weaving through the village like a chill wind. Doctors had come and gone, their faces grave, leaving behind only a heavy silence. But Martha held fast, her heart a sturdy lighthouse amidst the tempest. With every prayer, she imagined divine light flooding the chapel, illuminating the very walls with hope. "God is still with us," she whispered fervently, tears brimming in her eyes as she shared her plea with the heavens. Little did she know, her faith would soon clash with the shadows of doubt creeping into the hearts of her family. "How can you believe in miracles when the reality is right before us?" her eldest son had asked, his voice laced with skepticism. The rift deepened, and the warmth of unity began to crumble as others in the village echoed his fears, abandoning the hopeful whispers that had once pulsed through their lives. They gazed upon the chapel, its steeple a somber reminder of forgotten faith, while Martha felt the weight of disbelief pressing down on her soul. That evening, a gathering was called beneath the chapel's historic steeple. Villagers filled the square, their hearts a turbulent sea, oscillating between hope and despair. As Martha stood before them, she could sense the palpable tension. Something magical began to shimmer in the air, rippling through the crowd like anticipation before a storm. She closed her eyes, and in that moment, prayed not just for Timothy but for the entire village. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As her voice rose with fervor, the air thickened with an unseen presence. Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. It was as if the very angels of heaven had swooped down, enveloping them in an embrace of divine warmth. Martha looked up to see beams of golden light bursting through the dusky clouds, illuminating the chapel in a heavenly glow. Gasps echoed around her. Was it just the fading light, or had a miracle begun to materialize? And there, in the whispers of the wind, came a sound, the soft laughter of her beloved Timothy, clear as a bell despite the pain of his absence. The crowd turned in unison, eyes widening in disbelief as the doors to the chapel creaked open. Timothy stood at the entrance, radiant and whole. A wave of awe swept through the onlookers as the full realization set in: this was not just a miracle. It was a divine awakening. Yet, in the midst of wild rejoicing, Martha's heart echoed a question: why had it taken despair to ignite their faith? With the warmth of unity flooding back into the village, she felt an inkling of something more profound on the horizon. What other miracles awaited them, and how much deeper would their faith need to reach to embrace all that lay beyond the light? The story had only just begun. As the laughter of Timothy cascaded through the crowd, darkness began to retreat, and the warmth of hope wrapped around them like a loving embrace. Martha's heart swelled with gratitude, but it also danced with curiosity. She looked at her grandson, now filled with an almost ethereal glow, and wondered what other wonders were hidden in the tapestry of their lives. Timothy walked toward her, his steps light, and the faces around them reflected a mixture of awe and joy. Mothers clutched their children closer, and men tightened their hold on their wives as if to shield them from the shadows that had once gripped their hearts. As Timothy approached, Martha knelt to embrace him. The embrace was powerful, a reunion that seemed to stitch back together what had once felt torn beyond repair. "Mama, I heard your prayers," Timothy whispered, his voice as soft as a morning breeze. It was as if a light was calling me home. The villagers, gripped by the moment, exchanged glances filled with understanding. This wasn't merely an isolated miracle. This was a reminder of the divine thread woven through their everyday existence. Beneath the surface of doubt and fear, a glimmer of faith had been waiting to be rekindled. As Martha rose from her knees, she turned to the villagers, and a spark ignited in her soul. "Dear friends," she spoke, her voice steady yet filled with emotion, "we have witnessed the miracle of life restored before our eyes. We must not forget that faith is a flame that needs tending, not just in our brightest moments, but especially in our darkest." A collective stillness enveloped the crowd. The weight of her words hung in the air like the very light that had burst through the clouds moments before. Martha's voice grew stronger, drawing them in. "We allowed fear to silence the very essence of hope. Let us not forget this moment, this divine intervention, for it is a reminder that miracles are often hidden in the mundane." With each word, the villagers began to nod, a sense of unity bridging the gaps that doubt had carved into their hearts. They were beginning to remember who they were, people of faith, resilient and filled with purpose. Martha felt their spirits lifting, a chorus of renewed hope rising with her words. As twilight deepened, the golden glow from the chapel remained, casting an enchantment over the square. It acted as a beacon, not just for the villagers, but for all who had once lost sight of the divine possibility within their grasp. Suddenly, a gentle breeze fluttered through the gathered people, carrying with it the faint scent of blooming flowers that had long been dormant. The presence of something sacred wafted around them, softening hearts and igniting a thirst for deeper truths. "What else is there?" someone called out, breaking the silence, their tone both inquisitive and hopeful. Martha's heart raced at the question. What else was waiting for them to discover? There was more to this awakening than what lay before them. It was a reminder that the journey of faith was just beginning, each day offering new revelations, each prayer a spark inviting further connection to the divine. As the stars began to twinkle above them, Martha sensed a stirring in her spirit. What if this is just the beginning of something more? She ventured softly. The crowd leaned closer, their anticipation palpable. She smiled, unable to suppress the flicker of excitement within her. What if we're meant to witness more miracles unfold as we walk together in faith? A murmur rippled through the congregation, and with it, a wave of eagerness and belief surged anew. In that collective moment, a question lingered in the hearts of all. What revelations awaited them as they opened their eyes and hearts to the extraordinary possibilities before them? And as the night deepened, the chapel stood strong, accepting the weight of their collective prayers and dreams. What divine mysteries would emerge as they ventured further into this newfound journey? The anticipation of discovering what lay ahead was thick and sweet as the stars began to shimmer, brighter than ever before. Martha could feel the electric atmosphere around her. As the villagers momentarily lost themselves in anticipation, she allowed her mind to wander. What awaited them on this journey of faith? The weight of their collective hope hovered in the air, and a gentle warmth surged through her as she sensed the spirit stirring. "Listen, my dear friends," she called out gently. "Let us not only cherish this moment, but boldly step into what lies ahead." In her heart, she believed that God was inviting them to explore the depths of their connection with Him and each other. Timothy looked up at her, his eyes glimmering, echoing the light that seemed to radiate from the chapel. "What do you mean, Grandma? What are we waiting for?" His innocent questioning touched on the core of their collective curiosity. Martha took a deep breath. "Perhaps it is time to share our stories. Each one of us has experienced miracles, whether great or small. The simple act of sharing these can amplify the warmth of our faith." A woman named Eliza stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. "When my husband was bedridden last winter, I prayed tirelessly. One night, I laid my hands on him and felt an overwhelming peace. The next morning, he woke up renewed." A chorus of gasps filled the space, hearts rising with her brave proclamation. "Mama, I saw that," Timothy exclaimed, excitement bubbling in his voice. "I saw him get up. It was as if his spirit soared right in front of us." Eliza's face glowed as she relived the memory. Yes, and he's been strong ever since. It was a miracle that ignited my belief anew. I realized how much I had taken for granted. More voices began to surface, and the crowd grew animated as hearts connected through shared experiences. Each newly spoken testimony breathed life into the air, igniting a fire of expectancy. I felt the hand of God on my life when I found my way back home after thinking I was lost. A man named Peter shared, eyes glistening. I had been wandering for so long, but the moment I turned back, it was like the clouds parted and my burdens were lifted. Joy was blooming, an unquenchable thirst among the people. Each voice rose above the others, and a heartfelt tapestry of stories was woven. Some spoke of healing, while others shared moments where love broke through despair. Like flowers in spring, hope blossomed among them. Martha stepped back, filled with awe at the transformation before her. Each story was unique, yet they mirrored one another's journeys, a testimony to the power of faith. She could feel that these are not just tales, they were keyholes into God's divine mysteries. Perhaps, she wondered aloud, we are being called to explore deeper mysteries together. Maybe God has laid out a path meant for us to discover. Who will lead us in this exploration? A silence fell, but not one of uncertainty, rather a stillness pregnant with expectation. They were on the brink of something profound. Timothy moved to stand at his grandmother's side, the lights spilling from the chapel casting a glow around them both. "Where do we start?" he asked, eyes alight with the sparkle of possibility. Martha smiled, and her heart brimmed with purpose. "Let us come together in prayer. Let us seek God's guidance on this journey. Each prayer a stepping stone into the unknown." The villagers gathered in harmony, forming a circle, their hands reaching out to one another, an unbreakable chain forged by faith. As they bowed their heads, the air thickened with anticipation. In that moment, Martha felt overwhelmed by the beauty surrounding her. What new revelations would unfold as they took these sacred steps together? What miraculous discoveries awaited them on their path of faith? And as they began to pray, a breeze whispered through the night, echoing the heartbeat of their desires. What divine surprises were waiting just beyond the horizon? As the soft murmur of prayers filled the air, a serene stillness enveloped the chapel. The villagers' hearts beat together, their hopes woven into a tapestry of belief. Martha felt the Spirit moving among them, a palpable presence, urging them deeper into their faith journey. "Lord," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath, "guide us. Open our eyes to your wonders." In that sacred silence, the wind picked up slightly. It swirled around them like an unseen embrace, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming flowers from the surrounding fields. Eliza glanced up, her brows furrowing with curiosity as the breeze seemed to ripple through the circle. It was a gentle reminder that they were not alone. They stood together, bound by their testimonies, yet the presence of the divine felt near. Timothy, sensitive to the shifts around him, peeked from under the clasped hands of those beside him. His youthful innocence sparked a smile on Martha's face. "Grandma, do you think God is listening?" he asked, the wonder twinkling in his wide eyes. "More than we can imagine, my dear one," Martha replied, her heart buoyed. "He yearns for us to seek him. Let us listen for his response." Just as she finished speaking, an unexpected warmth enveloped Martha. It started as a gentle glow at her core and spread outward, washing over her and the villagers. Faces lit up, hands gripped tighter together, and the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. It felt like heaven was inching down, blessing them with a kiss of divine presence. "Eliza, tell us another story," came a voice from within the gathered crowd. The request hung in the air like the fragrance of wild roses, urging patience. Eliza took a deep breath and nodded, her earlier confidence returning. "Yes, there was another moment, much like the first. A time when my daughter faced a daunting illness. I remember praying fervently in her room. It felt as if she were slipping away. I cried out to God, asking for a miracle. As I laid my hands on her, I felt this warmth rise within me. I prayed with all my heart, and through tears, I saw her health return as if light poured back into her soul. In that moment, the shimmer of a soft light illuminated Eliza's face. Timothy gasped, eyes wide as he felt the very fabric of life itself weaving their hopes and fears into a shared understanding. He saw it, the palpable connection, the raw power of a shared testimony. Martha, with tears brimming in her eyes, could feel each heart beating in concord. With each story, we draw closer to our Creator, and He reveals Himself in the most unexpected ways, she urged quietly. We must open our hearts completely. As if driven by a divine whisper, a voice from behind interrupted her thoughts. What if we took a step further? What if we ventured out as a community? It was Peter. We could visit those among us who are struggling. Let our hands become instruments of healing. Let us share our stories where they can fill empty hearts. Martha nodded, her spirit igniting with resolution. What you speak of is powerful. Through our actions and love, we can ignite hope in those who feel lost. With that realization hung in the air, the very walls of the chapel reverberated with the energy of God's purpose. The villagers exchanged glances filled with determination. They felt the Holy Spirit guiding them on a path of outreach, a tapestry of love and grace designed to touch lives beyond their circle. Let us take a moment to seek His direction, Martha suggested, her heart racing. Who knows what wonders await when we move in faith together? As the villagers bowed their heads once more, a sense of unity enveloped them. They prayed not only for revelation but also for courage, for the journey ahead would call for deep faith and brave hearts. Little did they know that what lay ahead would unveil a miraculous divine plan, a calling that would change their lives and their village forever. Each heartbeat echoed the longing for the extraordinary. And as the candlelight flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls, Martha pondered what indeed would the next step of faith reveal. The stillness that followed their prayers seemed to pulse with life, like the gentle flutter of butterfly wings, invigorating every soul present. Martha felt the pulsating spirit flow through her, merging with the hopes and dreams of those around her. The air thickened, charged with a sacred energy. What if we shared stories of healing, of hope, and saw the change in our village? Eliza murmured, her voice a sweet frequency amid the reverent hush. Each story is a seed, ready to sprout into something mighty, something glorious. Martha's heart raced with inspiration as she considered Eliza's words. Yes, God has shaped our narratives to serve a greater purpose. Let us not keep them hidden. Each neighbor, every friend, will need to hear of His wonders. Timothy, still wide-eyed, squeezed Martha's hand. His spirit was ignited. Can we bring back the sick ones to health, just like you did with my mother, Eliza? The collective gasp from the group echoed Timothy's youthful eagerness. The thought hung in the air, beckoning with possibility. Martha could feel a shift. It was as if the walls of the chapel expanded, opening wide to the community outside. We can bring God's light to those still in darkness, she urged, feeling the Spirit urging her on. Inspired by an unseen force, the villagers began to share plans. They spoke of visiting the elderly, comforting the mournful, and serving the hungry. Each word spoken was like a lit candle, merging with the surrounding darkness, casting away shadows of doubt and despair. Suddenly, the atmosphere thickened again, and a serendipitous hush fell over them once more. A light breeze ushered in whispers from the outside world, as if their decision echoed into the very fabric of creation. The whispering enabled a sense of urgency. It beckoned to Martha's heart a longing to act, to embody the Spirit's nudging. Eliza, she said softly, do you feel that? It's almost like a whisper of confirmation from above, a holy invitation. Eliza nodded, her eyes shining bright with understanding. Indeed, Martha. It is our calling. But how do we begin? Martha sensed the weight of the question. The passion within her surged as she looked at her fellow villagers. First, we gather names. Let us write down those who require our care. The crowd's energy was electric now, their devotion coiling around them like vines. Together, they formed small groups, and one by one, people began sharing the names of those who were unwell or weary. Each name was whispered as a prayer, a dedication to their mission. As Timothy mentioned his friend Isaac, Martha felt a surge of warmth ripple through her, solidifying her belief in the shared journey ahead. Let us form a circle of love, Martha encouraged, her voice steady. We can pray for each individual together. We can't allow fear to hinder our hearts." They clasped hands, forming a solid ring of faith, each one leaning into the warmth of community. It felt as if the Spirit wrapped around them, a protective blanket shielding them from doubt. As the congregation prayed, the candlelight flickered wildly, expanding with every passionate plea, rising higher towards heaven. The room shimmered with ethereal brilliance, and for a fleeting moment, Martha glimpsed a vision of her village glowing, alive with the manifestation of hope. Suddenly, a profound realization washed over her. What if we not only visited but invited them here, to our chapel, filled with warmth and healing? She proposed, sensing that their unity could draw those who had once felt cut off from the divine embrace. The church erupted into fervor as ideas ricocheted, many were touched, and the mission materialized before them. They breathed joy and purpose into each plan, envisioning gatherings that would pour love over hearts in need. But as they made grand plans, a soft voice broke through the uplifting chatter. "And what if there is more?" It was Peter again, and he spoke with a weight that silenced the excitement. "What if our actions led to something far greater than we can see?" The crowd paused, caught in contemplation, the flickering flames in their hearts rising higher. They stood on the precipice of something extraordinary, and Martha felt the anticipation bubbling within her, an unquenchable curiosity aflame. What did Peter mean? What greater miracle awaited them just beyond the horizon? The air crackled with possibilities, and the question lingered, echoing in the hearts of all present. What miraculous revelation of divine awakening was God preparing for them next? Though the air buzzed with fervor, a sacred stillness enveloped the congregation as they processed Peter's words. They stood as vessels, ready to be filled with the knowledge of a greater purpose. Martha could feel her heart race, the anticipation of God's next move gripping her. "Let us trust in His timing," she said, her voice steady but full of passion. "Let us prepare our hearts and our space for whatever He has planned. We can't rush it, we must be ready." Eliza's hand tightened around Martha's, a silent agreement passing between them. "Together, we will embark on this journey. We'll lay down the foundation in prayer." With a renewed sense of direction, the group began to sing softly. Their voices harmonized, rising like incense, a fragrant offering to the heavens. It wasn't just about what they would do, it was about opening themselves up to divine guidance, about being aligned with the greater purpose unfolding before them. Timothy, filled with childlike faith, started to bounce on his feet. "Can we tell stories while we work?" he asked eagerly. "I want everyone to remember the stories of miracles." "Yes," Eliza responded, her face lighting up. "Every miracle, every bit of healing will stir faith. It will encourage those who feel lost." As they discussed, the ideas bloomed like wildflowers, vivid and colorful. Gatherings could share testimonies, they could celebrate healing with joyful music, they would call upon God's presence to fill the chapel every time. But Peter stood, shadows flickering across his brow. "We must also be ready for the unexpected. God's plans often unfold in ways we can't foresee." Mutters of affirmation spread through the group, cautious, but open hearts swelling with excitement. Martha nodded. "Yes, let us remain vigilant, not just for the healings we expect, but for the revelations that arise outside of our understanding." With that thought, an electric silence settled over the chapel again. The slight crackling of the candle flames danced like whispers of the Holy Spirit, an invitation to enter a deeper place of trust. "What if we were to create a space for dreams to come alive?" Martha proposed, her voice infused with zeal. "Let us host a prayer vigil, inviting all from the village and beyond. We can ask them to bring their burdens, their hopes, and place them at the feet of Jesus. We'll create a night filled with worship and intercession." Timothy clasped his hands, eyes sparkling. "Yes, people could come and share their needs. And we could pray for healing right here. Like your mother, Eliza." A wave of agreement passed through the villagers as they envisioned this night of surrender and supernatural possibility. Conversations blossomed, plans refined, hearts united in their purpose, the anticipation of faith swelling with every heartbeat. Yet, in the midst of their plans, a stillness washed over the chapel. It felt as if time itself paused, and each person felt drawn towards a new revelation simmering at the edge of their vision. What is the deeper mystery? Eliza mused aloud, her gaze drifting towards the high ceilings adorned with shadows. What if we find something not just for ourselves? Suddenly, that question felt like a fragile thread connecting them to something larger, something divine. Martha felt it pulse in her chest, a heartbeat of the spirit that ignited a yearning deep within. Could their small village hold the key to something they had yet to comprehend? A power that would reach far beyond their wildest imaginations. The room held its breath, the weight of the question pressing in. Just then, a gust of wind swept through a crack in the window, stirring the candle flames into a wild dance. Hope poured in, washing over them. And as the light flickered, Martha realized something pivotal was starting to unfold. What divine awakening awaited them, just beyond the veil? What revelation from God had yet to be discovered? The unknown loomed before them like a vast ocean, ready to be crossed. With hearts full of faith and uncertainty lingering in the air, they were on the brink of something extraordinary, a promise waiting to be born. What lay ahead, beyond the horizon of their faith-filled dreams? Would they step boldly into the flow of the miraculous? The candle flames flickered wildly, casting shadows that danced across the walls of the chapel as the winds of possibility mingled with their breath. Martha felt a rush of clarity at that moment. Their hearts were not just open, they were the very vessels meant to carry forth a tapestry of divine wonders. "Let us not just expect the miraculous," she exclaimed, her voice rising with fervor, "but embrace what we cannot even imagine." What if our prayer vigil is a gateway? Eliza's eyes widened with understanding, absorbing the weight of Martha's words. A gateway, yes. A passageway to the heavens. What if God wants to do something that goes beyond just one night? The air thickened with enthusiasm as they considered this invitation. Who were they to limit God's work? This was not merely about one evening of prayer, it was a call to ignite a movement and awakening in the depths of their souls that might spread far beyond their village. Timothy's eyes sparkled mischievously. What if we bring drums? A dance of praise and celebration. We can lift the burdens right off our feet. His energy was infectious, reminding them that joy was, indeed, a crucial part of their faith journey. Peter stepped up, anchoring their spirited conversation with a gentle reminder. We must remain humble in our expectations. God's ways are not our ways. He may come to us in ways we least expect. Martha nodded, the truth of Peter's words resonating deeply within her. It was not enough to prepare the space. They needed to prepare their hearts to receive the unexpected, to let go of their limited understanding and trust in the vastness of God's imagination. As ideas continued to bounce around the chapel, a synergy developed, binding their hearts in purpose. They envisioned not just prayer but also acts of kindness and community outreach that would echo the spirit of their vigil. What if the healing they prayed for extended into acts of love and service towards one another? With excitement pulsing through her, Eliza proposed, what if we gather stories of hope from those who attend? Every participant could bring a story, a testimony that could be woven into our praise. We can remind each other of God's goodness. Just then, a soft whisper swept through the chapel. It was as if the Holy Spirit had breathed life into their discussion. Everyone fell silent, attuned to a deeper whisper, a sense of presence that shrouded them in peace, urging them to seek a heartfelt commitment to this calling. Martha closed her eyes, feeling the atmosphere shift. They were no longer just a group of villagers, they were a collective body, a network of faith drawn together by a single purpose. In their shared silence, she sensed an awakening. They were on the cusp of something breathtaking. What if she began, breaking the silence? What if this prayer vigil is not just our offering to God, but His offering to the world through us? What wonders could arise from our surrender? How might we release His love into the hearts of the lost? As words tumbled from Martha's lips, the group sat in rapt attention, each heartbeat resonating with new possibilities. The flame of hope flickered brighter, igniting something deep within, an urgency, a longing to witness God's power woven through their lives. Timothy's joy filled the room as he jumped up. Let us make a banner. It should say, "Come, for the miraculous is here." We want everyone who passes by to feel it in their spirit." Martha laughed, the sound light and free, grounding her amidst the growing tide of expectation. "Yes, let us draw them in. But remember, we are just instruments. It's not about us, it's about Him." With their hearts and connections intertwined, they knew their gathering would touch the heavens. This was just the beginning, a stirring to draw forth all that lay dormant, waiting for a community that would truly believe. As the anticipation swelled within the chapel, a question rippled through their hearts. Would they trust enough to let go and give God the freedom to surprise them? What miracles awaited them as they prepared together for the night of prayer and prophecy to unfold? As the sun dipped below the horizon, the warmth of day surrendered to the cool embrace of twilight. The chapel, once a simple gathering place, now sparkled with the promise of something life-changing. The flickering flames from the candles mirrored the excitement in their souls, each light a reminder of the divine presence stirring among them. Martha took a deep breath, feeling the energy surge through her. "We are not simply preparing for an event, we are birthing a movement." Her voice rang out like a bell, clear and resolute. The others nodded, eyes shining with shared purpose. Eliza felt her heart swell. What if we create a space for worship that goes beyond our own needs? What if anyone who enters can leave transformed? She envisioned banners draped with words of hope, bright colors inviting everyone to partake in this miracle. Timothy, never one to shy away from action, began sketching ideas on a scrap of paper. "Let us have art stations for the children, songs for everyone, and a place to capture their stories." Imagine seeing the faces of the lost and broken lighting up as they experience an outpouring of love. Peter, ever the anchor in their spirited discussions, nodded thoughtfully. "We cannot forget the foundational truth. Our hearts cannot carry the weight of this alone. We need to pray, not just for ourselves, but for those who may come, those we may never know." As the evening wore on, the group gathered in a circle, each member placing their hands over their hearts. The air shifted again, an electric current coursing through them as they began to pray aloud, approximately at once, a cacophony of voices lifting expectations to the heavens. Their words created a tapestry of unity, each prayer intertwining with the others, creating a tapestry of faith. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the chapel. It was gentle but powerful, stirring the flames and rustling the leaves of the nearby trees outside. The sensation caused a hush to fall over them, eyes wide in reverence. Something was stirring beyond the physical world. A moment of divine awakening was at hand. "What was that?" Martha breathed, her heart racing. "Did you feel it?" "I did," Eliza whispered, her face aglow. "It felt like a confirmation, like the Spirit is urging us to move forward." Timothy smiled, his eyes bright with wonder. "What if that wind signifies the start of something beyond what we can imagine? It could be an invitation, one we can't afford to ignore." Peter cleared his throat, a soft yet firm reminder amidst the excitement. "Let us not rush ahead. We must seek His guidance in every step. Each of us carries a part of this call." With their voices now lowered to whispers, the chapel was filled with a profound hush. Each person's heart echoed in quiet prayer, seeking clarity, waiting for the Spirit to guide them forward. Together they stood on the brink of transformation, yet fully aware of the sacred responsibility they had embraced. In that moment of stillness, an idea blossomed in Martha's mind. What if this prayer vigil expands beyond our walls? What if we invite other villages, families, and even those we don't know yet? She felt the truth of her words resonate, sending ripples of excitement coursing through the group. Could their humble gathering indeed become a beacon of hope, a catalyst for healing that reached outwards beyond themselves? This thought hung in the air, vibrating with potential. A plan began to form, not merely of logistics, but with the very fabric of faith woven into their actions. As they stepped out into the cool night, a thought lingered in the back of their minds. What if they were just at the dawn of something monumental, something the world had yet to witness? Tomorrow, would they have the courage to step into the mysterious unknown, trusting that God would reveal wonders they had never expected? The morning arrived like a soft whisper, bringing with it hues of gold and tinges of hope. The chapel clung to the stillness of dawn, yet inside, It throbbed with anticipation. Martha gathered the group once more, her heart racing like a child awaiting a longed-for gift. Today, she began, is the beginning. We must pour our hearts into what we envision. If this gathering is meant to be a movement, it begins with us right now. Eliza placed her hand on her chest, feeling the warmth of possibility. Let us create a space that genuinely welcomes everyone. Her eyes sparkled. A place where the broken can find healing and the lost can find their way home. Timothy, sketchbook in hand, nodded vigorously. Yes, we must turn our visions into action. The art stations, the music, the stories, this can be a vivid tapestry of life and faith. A wave of agreement swept through the circle. Peter took a breath, his brow furrowed in concentration. But we need to invite others around us into this vision. Let us reach out, not just to those we know, but to those who may be desperate for what we have found. The group split into pairs, eager to alpha the day's purpose. They ventured out into the village, hearts aflame, sharing the vision with neighbors, friends, and strangers alike. The gentle urgency of their mission wrapped around them, much like the soft morning mist. As they moved through the streets, conversations sparked and blossomed. Some smiled, ignited by the infectious energy of the group, while others looked on skeptically. Yet, every interaction fueled their resolve. In every doubt laid a seed of hope. Eliza reflected with a tender smile. We must be patient with those whose hearts are slow to understand. Perhaps they too will come to see the light. They pushed forward, knowing that faith isn't always loud or sensational. Sometimes it breathes quietly in the doubts, sometimes in the silence that follows a heartfelt invitation. The sun climbed higher, and soon the chapel began to fill, the walls absorbing stories, miracles of those who came with heavy hearts. Some walked in with burdens etched on their faces, while others entered with curious glances. Martha took a moment, standing at the door, watching it all unfold. A deep peace settled within her. This is what we prayed for, she whispered to herself. The thought resonated like a prayer. Suddenly, a soft gasp from the crowd caught everyone's attention. An elderly woman, her hands shaking, stood before the altar, tears streaming down her face. I never thought I'd see this place filled with so much love and light, she said, her voice choked with emotion. Martha stepped closer, her heart racing. You're not just seeing it, dear friend, she said gently. You are part of it now. The words hung in the air, heavy and sweet, igniting something deep within the gathering. An overwhelming sense of unity began to weave through the attendees. Their hearts began to resonate with one single beat of hope, one bold desire to feel, to heal, to belong. But just as the spirit of openness began to crescendo, a storm began to brew outside. Dark clouds loomed overhead, stirring restlessness in the previously tranquil air. Whispers of fear rippled through the crowd. What if they turned back now? Timothy's voice wavered as he glanced toward the ominous sky. Peter clasped his hands together, his steadfast tone rising above the murmurings. This is not just about this day. It's about trust. We may not always see the way, but we must keep steadfast. The Spirit guides us, even amidst the storms. As the wind howled, a voice from the back called out, what if these winds carry our prayers more swiftly to heaven? Their hearts stirred, echoes of courage intertwining with uncertainty. And within the storm, a question unfurled, lingering in the air. Could they trust in the unseen, standing firm in the face of whatever lay ahead? As they gazed toward the darkening sky, a silent resolve formed among them, ready to embrace the miraculous, should they dare to take another step in faith. The next chapter awaited, filled with the secrets of divine encounters that were just beyond the horizon. What awaited them in the tempest's heart? The storm raged outside, yet within the chapel, hope flickered like the flames of their candles. Martha stood at the center, filled with purpose that drove away fear. Trust is not merely a feeling, she declared, her voice unwavering, but an act of faith. Today is meant for miracles. The villagers' eyes reflected her resolve. Courage built like a rising tide, each heartbeat amplified with her words. Rain lashed against the windows, but instead of despair, it brought a sense of urgency and anticipation, a divine stirring awakening within their very souls. Timothy, ever the beacon of childlike faith, spoke up. "Let us gather together and pray. God can calm this storm just like He healed me." His words were met with murmurs of agreement. Together they would overcome whatever darkness threatened their joy. With renewed determination, the chapel doors flung open to invite the storm inside. Villagers gathered under the flickering light, forming a circle, a sacred bond binding them together in expectation. Hands were clasped tight, sharing strength, infused with the courage to face the uncertain path ahead. "Let us pray for those who feel swept away by doubt and fear," Martha urged, her voice rising above the tempest. "Let us invite God into this storm, our very lives." A chorus of amen swelled throughout the chapel, anchoring their intentions in the sacred act. As they prayed, a warmth filled the space. It was as if the Spirit wrapped itself around each individual, quieting their hearts, even against the howling winds. They breathed together as one, exhaling fear, inhaling divine hope. Tears flowed freely, hearts softening, embracing vulnerability. And then, amid the uproar of wind and rain, a gentle voice emerged from the back of the congregation. Martha, an elderly man named Joseph, spoke. "It is not only us in need of change. The village outside, they need hope too. They may feel lost in the chaos." Martha's heart leaped at his insight. "Yes, let us take this prayer to the streets," she exclaimed, a smile breaking through her seriousness. "Let us bring the light of God into the gloom, sharing our stories of hope, pulling others from the shadows." The villagers' faces brightened, enthusiasm surging like an electric current. In that moment, there was no hesitation. "We can create prayer teams," Eliza suggested, her heart beating with excitement. "Let us spread out, let them feel God's presence in the storm outside." Timothy grinned widely, like a river of faith flowing through every street. One by one, they broke from the circle, dividing into small teams, fueled by the shared mission to love, pray, and connect. As they stepped outside, they moved from unity into action, becoming vibrant messengers of hope that overflowed from their souls. The storm cast a wild backdrop, its howls a stark contrast to the warmth of faith ignited in each heart. As they approached their neighbors, there was no fear, only the divine knowing that their very presence carried the light of God's love. Villagers emerged from their homes, greeted by the determined faces of those who bore testament to miracles. "We're here to pray with you," one woman said, holding out her hand. "You don't have to go through this alone." An elderly neighbor, Ms. Collins, looked out from her window, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "I don't know if prayer will help," she started, but Eliza's gentle smile instantly softened her heart. "Just share your worries with us," Eliza replied, her voice filled with warmth. "Let us lift them together." As the words floated in the air, something shifted in the atmosphere. The storm grew fierce, yet hearts began to unpack burdens, and in that vibrancy of courage, peace unfurled like a blossoming flower in spring. "Believe and receive," shouted Timothy, inspiring laughter amidst the rain-soaked neighbors. "Miracles are happening." Before long, a gathering began to form on the streets. Their circle became a collective embrace of community love. They stood hand in hand, joining voices in fervent prayer that ascended into the storm, a prayer that reached even beyond the clouds, a cry for light in the overwhelming darkness. As they prayed, the winds began to soften, lifting gently, almost as if he were responding to their efforts. The skies crackled, and a radiant light broke through like an answer to their hopes, drenched in golden hues that enveloped everyone present. Gasps filled the air as they felt his presence, a wave of peace washing over the congregation. It was as if the heavens themselves were echoing their prayers back, affirming their faith. Martha turned to her newfound family of neighbors, eyes wide with reverence. "Look, God is revealing His light to us. This is the beginning of our awakening." The rain began to dwindle, transforming into a gentle mist. Villagers burst into cheers, their faith ignited like never before. The storm that had threatened to extinguish their hope instead fueled an inferno of love and unity. Amid the unfolding joy, Peter raised his voice amidst the fervor. Let us continue our work beyond today. These miracles aren't just for us, they are to ripple outwards. Martha's heart brimmed with excitement, the understanding that their witness would touch lives far beyond their little village. The adventure of faith awaited, and they would walk boldly together. Tears of joy flowed freely, bathed in the warmth of each embrace and every shared story. The reality of miracles was no longer merely a distant dream, but a vibrant movement stirring from the depths of their spirits, a movement they would take forth until every home was touched with love and light. And as the sun broke free from the clouds, illuminating their path ahead, a collective realization emerged with the warmth of the day's embrace. They were not just a village bound by location, but a family bound by faith. Martha smiled, feeling destiny unfold like the petals of a flower, ready to witness whatever divine surprise awaited. They would embrace the journey hand in hand, for in every prayer lay a miracle, and in every heart lay boundless potential. What awaited them beyond this day, this storm, and this light? This awakening had only begun, and the horizons stretched wide before them, promising the extraordinary. You need to subscribe now for more divine encounters and faith-filled stories. Hit the like button now to fuel this message through the algorithm. Leave a comment with your thoughts and testimonies about this incredible journey. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who are hungry for God's miraculous hand in their lives. Together, let's spread this awakening.